According to a new report from The Atlantic, several top Trump officials are now living in military housing in Washington, D.C., and around the surrounding area.
The list includes DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, among others. The report says part of the reason for this development is that many Trump appointees have been met with protesters outside their old homes, and some are fearful of being the target of political violence. The article reads, Trump has survived 2 assassination attempts, Iran has stepped up its efforts to kill federal officials, and political violence, such as the June shooting of 2 Democratic Minnesota lawmakers, the murder of Charlie Kirk in September, and the shooting at a Texas immigration facility 2 weeks later, is a real danger.
Now, The Atlantic has so far counted at least 6 members of Trump's cabinet living on military bases. This practice is something that presidential aides have done throughout history, but it's unusual for so many to be doing it at the same time.
Online, many on the right say the move is justified as a means of officials protecting themselves. Turning Point USA spokesman Andrew Colvett says left-wing violence has grown so bad that now top Trump administration officials have moved into homes on military bases for their own personal safety. It's shocking that this is the reality, yet here we are. And Ben Dom.
All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, which is to say in the Paleo-Hebrew, Yahweh, which is the name of our Heavenly Father, meaning He is, and that is who the world ignorantly calls God. Bahashem, which means in the name. Yahweh Shai, which means He is our salvation, and that is who the world also ignorantly calls Jesus, a so-called black man, who, by the way, only came for the Israelites, all right? Now, as you seen from the little clip that was played from that news broadcast, certain members of Donald J. Trump cabinet or administration has now sought quote-unquote refugee or refuge at military residence or bases in Washington, D.C., all right? Some of the names that they included were Mark Rubio, Pete Hegseth, and Kristi Noem, if I'm not mistaken, all right? Now, you can believe the narrative that they're telling you that they're seeking refuge from protesters that's showing up at their houses, from, left-wing activists, or whatever else narrative that they're pitching out there for you to believe to justify them departing from the general public, all right? But it makes way much more sense that there's something more imminent that's coming that they're getting ahead of before it all breaks out, all right? See, right now, it's just up in the air, speculation, all right? We don't know for certain. But soon, it's going to come a time where you're going to see a lot of these talking heads, a lot of these cabinet members aren't going to be easily accessible. Because why? They're going to be put in hiding, okay? Because why? They're getting ready to let the people go loose on themselves, okay? And they don't want to be in no way, shape, or form involved in that. So they're setting the narrative already for them to leave and for them to not see you or them in the public as much as you would have, okay? They're using these proxies or these excuses that we have to move because the they got protesters, showing up at our doorsteps. No, they putting themselves in a predicament so that what? When all hell breaks loose, you won't be able to find them and blame them, okay? This is Psalm 73 and verse 5. It says, they are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. See? They leaving us out here to settle it amongst our own selves when all hell breaks loose, okay? They're going to be in the confine of their military, of their private, sectors where you can't be easily able to get to them. All right. But even so, they're going to be touched. Okay. They're going to be touched. Make no mistake about it. All right. And we know, pursuant to Revelation 6, they have bunkers, the elites. I'm talking about the elites, the wicked elites of this society. They have bunkers that they're going to flee America once all hell breaks loose. And then those same bunkers that they're going to flee into when the missiles come are going to be the same bunkers that's going to act as their prisons. Okay. For them to be preserved as the first crop or batch of slaves in the kingdom. Okay? This is all biblical prophecy. So it says, Psalm 73 and verse 5, they are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. See? So it's going to be a dog-eat-dog world out here pretty soon, man. Okay? This government shutdown is just the beginning stages of it, all right? Once these people really see what's going on, that's going to be it. And then they can't voice their opinion and blame it on nobody because they can't get to these people's houses because they're being protected by the National Guards, the military. All right? It's a wrap, okay? It is a wrap. It's going to be neighbors, ravening, their own neighbors' houses for food, with the sword and everything else, okay? It's not going to be any place you want to be at if the Lord ain't dealing with you, okay? If you out here on the streets when all hell breaks loose and you ain't got no hedge of protection around you, guess what? You finished. You through, man. All right? It's going to be a wild, wild west type of scenario out here throughout the whole land, all right? Few what you call those places? Sanctuary cities is going to be available. All right. But as I stated earlier, these elite members of these societies, they have their bunkers. Okay. They're going to run into them. All right. Only to be preserved for the first crop or batch of slaves. This is Revelation 6. In verse 15, it says, "In the kings of the earth, in the great men, in the rich man, in the chief captains, in the mighty man, in every bondman, in every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains." See? So they see what's coming. It's by no sheer coincidence that Trump is floating the idea now of doing nuclear tests. All right. He wants to start testing nukes now. All right. Because he understands China, along with Russia, they have the technology to reach the shorelines and interior parts of America with thermonuclear missiles. Okay. So they're getting prepared for World War III. All right. Things are going to just expediently move faster and quicker leading up into the mark of the beast, all right? We're going to see things start to pick up, Lord willing, all right? Abaratazar, Father will, all right? And these elites of these countries, of these states, the rich man, the bond man, it said, what else? It says, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, right? And they're going to get ready to take out because these real wealthy, trillionaires, billionaires, they got bunkers outside of America, okay? For when the shit really hits the fan, okay? They going to hop a jet or whatever and get out of here before the missiles come, okay? And leave you Americans here to what? Burn, okay? You're not going to get the 1 or 2 hour heads up that there's missiles coming. By the time they sound the alarm, if you even get an alarm, it's going to be too late. All right? The missiles are going to be already here. It says, verse 16, "And said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne." Right? Who is the face that sitteth on the throne? Is Yahushua. All right? They're going to want those rocks and mountains to fall on them because why? they're going to know that they're getting ready to go into slavery, man. But that's just going to be their holding cell to preserve them for that. It says, and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? See? So, hey, man, this thing is looking like, it's a, man, sometimes you got to keep your composure, man, but sometimes you want to say, call halal Yahweh Bahashim Mashiach Yahweh Shai. All right? All praises to Yahweh in the name of the anointed, the Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, man. You see? Because, hey, these people finna find out their government is been lying to them. They are not at straits as other men. All right? They don't play on the same rules or playbooks as the normal people do. They got their own rules and regulations that they play by. Okay? And they're gonna leave us out here, the members of America. That's why you're gonna go into Egyptians against Egyptians to fight it out amongst themselves, man. Okay? So yeah, we get ready to see things really escalate and move, quick. All right? It ain't gonna take too long once that first prophecy pop off, man. All right? Once these people see that ain't no help coming, and that they gotta go and get the money out the bank to pay their rent, their mortgage, and whatever else, and it really sinks in. See, right now they got what you call hope in the system. They got hope that, the government will find some type of way to get the SNAP benefits put on their EBT card, and that they'll open up the government and get things back to business. But little do they know, man, these damn congressmen, these senators, they got a contingency plan predicated on what happens next. They got an escape route. They got a hideout that you can't find them, okay? And they're just going to use AI to give you some watered down, video of them acting like it's a live upload or a live feed. You see? Meanwhile, you ain't seen them in person in days, okay? So, lest Satan, 2 Corinthians 2:11, should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, man. We know something is getting ready, something's up, something's getting ready to come down the line, okay? Something major, all right? And we telling you to get right with the Lord. Be ready, be prepared, okay? Repent while you still got time and seek the Lord while he may be found, all right? 1 Peter 5:8, and we close out. This is the book of 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. It reads, be sober, be vigilant. See, we're supposed to be measuring the time diligently. How's you going to measure the time if you're not sober? You can't measure anything being inebriated or intoxicated. Your measuring is going to be all the way off, all right? So with this truth, you got to have this discernment to measure the time diligently. And unless you're sober and vigilant, you can't. If you sidetrack by doing something else and you feel like this word isn't important enough for you to stay up to date with and to keep the prophecies, up to date, then you're not sober. You're not vigilant. You're not measuring the time diligently. And you're going to be caught off guard when all hell breaks loose. All right? Because why? You didn't seek the Lord while he may be found through his servants, the prophets. So it says, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. Right? All they doing is buying time, okay? Just buying time while they put the finishing touches on this thing. Let's say they do give the recipients partial SNAP benefits. They still buying time. They still going to allow the shutdown to continue to roll on, give you a week or two while they put the finishing touches on whatever they getting ready to do. And you're going to be complacent for those next 2 weeks. And then right around Thanksgiving or so, when you check your SNAP, your EBT, and you see, what am I going to do about, celebrating Thanksgiving? And then you figure it out, I ain't going to have a Thanksgiving, okay? It's going to be complete mayhem out here, man. All right? But see, we telling you, all right, to what? Be ready, be prepared. What's that? 2 Ezra 16:40? Make thyself ready to thy battle, and in those days be as pilgrims. All right, we telling you, all right? But see, y'all want to, take shots and call us black Hebrew Israelites and, this and that, all right? But hey, you ain't gonna have too much more time left to mock and scoff the man of the Lord, man. All right, because he's gonna remove them from off the streets and the internet pretty soon. And then it's gonna be a famine of the word. Then you're gonna have to figure it out on your own, okay? So that's gonna be it. We're gonna wrap it up on that. And with that being said, pray some more of us edified through this lesson. And until the next time, if it be the Lord's will, stay strong, stay in the faith. We're almost home. Shalom. Peace.